now the meeting kicks off officially. So guys, my name is Humphrey Konge. I'm joining you from Passcode offices here in Nairobi, Kenya. And Humphrey is a nurse, a registered nurse, having studied nursing at the University of Nairobi, Kenya. Yeah, graduated 2013. Went for internship 2014, started working in Kenya, and started the USRN journey 2019. Yeah, and as they say, the rest is history. My NCLEX journey had a lot of hiccups because of the COVID-19. Scheduling exam is cancelled without even a notification because you cannot go to do it. Yeah. So it was a bit lengthy, the NCLEX journey, because of the COVID-19, but because of the determination, we emerged victorious. I am so proud today to be talking to a group that is going to be doing NCLEX in 2 centers in Africa, either South Africa or Nairobi, Kenya. That is a big blessing. The people who went ahead of you went to do NCLEX in South Africa and India, and it was not so easy. The journeys came with a lot of difficulties. Yeah. So besides that, I also serve as the NCLEX program director at Passcode Consultants. We are so proud to have so many nurses pass through our program, do NCLEX with us, pass NCLEX, do IELTS, the English exam with us, pass the English exam, and being able to proceed to the next level, yeah, the next level of signing a contract and starting the immigration process. And I will be answering some of those questions. Some of you ask that when you do NCLEX by yourself, self-sponsored program, how do you maneuver about getting a job? Yeah. So we'll be answering that question also. We'll be answering those questions. We'll be telling you about them. So please keep in the meeting. I can see our guest is already in our meeting, who is our alumni, and I'll be inviting our guest in the next few minutes. So to start with, we will have Emma Kazuri. Emma Kazuri is our sales executive at Passcode Global Consultants, and she will be welcoming us to this meeting as well. She will also be explaining to us what is Passcode, what we do at Passcode, and just keep your questions coming. You can ask your questions on chat as well. You can raise your hand. We will note you, and we are going to address them. That is assured. So, Emma, welcome, and you can talk to the nurses. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Humphrey. To everyone joining us this evening, you're very much welcome, and we are very, very humbled to have you on board. I'm looking for a session of great interaction and lots of learning. So if you have any question, just as Humphrey has said, kindly just type in on the wall, and I will be able to answer them, type back. Or at the end of the webinar, you will also be given a chance to ask questions. So to begin with, Passcode is a nursing support agency. Humphrey did mention that when we were admitting some of you. So to the ones who joined later, we are a nursing support agency, and we majorly prepare registered nurses for NCLEX, which is a 4-month course, and our charges are $300 or 30,000 Kenya shillings. Yeah. We also train German language from the most basic level, which is A1, to the super intermediate, which is B2, and we charge $250 for each module. For a period of 2 to 3 months, again, for each module. We also do teach English programs, that is IELTS, TOEFL, and OET. We do CV alignment, at only 2,000 Kenya shillings or $20. And we also have another segment of specialized individual consultation at $30 or 30,000 Kenya shillings. So if you feel you're not content by the basic consultation, or rather the general consultation that we've put up on our social media handles, or the one that we give when you give us a call, you can always seek to schedule a meeting with the director and then get the individualized consultation. So guys, welcome again, and feel free to ask whatever question that you think would be helpful. Welcome.
Okay, thank you so much, Emma, for the elaborate introduction to Passcode. So before I invite our guest, I would like to take you through the process of the USRN in a nutshell, what happens. And then I'll be inviting our guest to give remarks about how to prepare for the new generation NCLEX. Yeah. So if you want to move to the US as a nurse, we should start with, first of all, what are the requirements? What do you need to move to the US, to be able to move to the US as a nurse? The main thing you need to move to the US as a nurse is to be a registered nurse in your country. So if you come from Zimbabwe, you need to be a registered nurse with the Zimbabwe Nursing Council. If you come from Uganda, you need to be a registered nurse with the Ugandan Nursing Council or Nursing Board. So as long as you are a registered nurse in your country, you qualify to start the US journey, the US process. So when you are starting the US process, we look at two major things. Number one, you must be having your transcripts from the School of Nursing, and those transcripts should not be having errors in terms of hours, like anatomy, how many hours did you study? Medical surgical nursing, how many hours did you study? For clinical and theory hours, and all the subjects that you studied. Secondly, we look at your license. When you are starting with the process, your license needs to be about 3 months to expiring, because it will be subjected to a verification process, and that verification process is going to take some time, about 3 to 4 months. So once you have those, we also look at your civil documents, majorly a passport. If you don't have a passport, you can use your identity card or birth certificate. And we usually start your registrations for the NCLEX by registering with a body called CGFNS. And the work of the body called CGFNS is actually to evaluate your documents and say that Humphrey is a registered nurse in Kenya. Humphrey went to a school which is recognized by the Ministry of Health, also approved by the Nursing Council of Kenya to offer a course in Bachelor of Science in Nursing or Kenya Registered Community Health Nurse. So the CGFNS is going to give a comprehensive report called CES report to a board of nursing in the US. So which also means that we are going to register you with a board of nursing in the US. And for the US case, every state has a board of nursing. So if you talk about California, there's a California board of nursing. If you talk about New York, there is New York board of nursing. Talk about Colorado, there is Colorado board of nursing. So we scrutinize your transcripts, your documents, your names, and choose with you a board of nursing. Nowadays, boards of nursing are very strict. We have many people who start the process without consultations and they get stuck in the process. And sometimes you get people who started the process like 2 years ago, but they got stuck. They couldn't move. Yeah. But when you come to us, within 4 months, you can maneuver through the process and be registered and to schedule your NCLEX exam. Sometimes the reasons why people get stuck is when, for example, you register with a board you don't qualify with. You didn't have enough information on what a particular board requires. So you just started registering with a board, and probably that board needed 1, 2, 3, 4 things which you do not meet, and you get stuck in the process. You can't move on. Yeah, you can't move. So we look at all those things before we choose a board for you. Then once we register you with a board, there's another process called criminal background check. So, kindly mute yourselves. So a board of nursing in the US is not going to approve you to take the NCLEX exam if you have a criminal record. Yeah. So you have to undergo a criminal investigation, which is a simple, not a very complex procedure, but it's a criminal check. Okay, these guys are not going to investigate you like the DCI. They are just going to check existing records. So they will be taking your fingerprints. Yeah. And we usually assist you to do that process. And the moment they realize you don't have a criminal record, they are going to approve you for the NCLEX exam. Then you test, then you take the NCLEX exam. I must say that before you take the NCLEX exam, we enroll you into an NCLEX revision program, which is what we are going to be talking today. And that is what our guest is going to be talking about. We enroll you into a 4-month NCLEX revision program where we teach you, we deliver the NCLEX curriculum, we teach you about the NCLEX curriculum, we teach you what the NCLEX wants you to know, what the NCLEX tests, and how to study for the NCLEX, which materials are you going to study, how to answer questions in the NCLEX, how to prepare for the exam, how to do the exam. You go past the exam. So once we have made sure that you are fully registered for the exam, you have a document called ATT, authorization to test, and we also assess you internally and also do some external exams for you, which is called a Christian bank. Now we realize that this person is ready for the exam. We agree with you. You also confirm to us that you are ready for the exam. We approve you to schedule. Then we agree on a date when you are going to schedule for the exam. So you schedule for the exam. Go pass the exam. So you test us. Most of the candidates usually test me first because I'm the NCLEX program director. So I keep monitoring them closely. And they tell me, I did my exam yesterday, received my report results today, it's a pass. Yeah. So we give you like 1-2 weeks to celebrate your results. Yeah. You might decide to go to Masai Mara for like a weekend or something like that to celebrate your results. Then when you come back, we start a process called job search, where we help you to get a job. At the same time, you are also doing the English exam. You can choose to do OET, you can choose to do TOEFL, you can choose to do IELTS, you can choose to do PTE. So as you get a job, you're also done with your IELTS. So you are a contract to sign, and we also assist you to go through the contract so that you don't sign a job in a place where you are not very comfortable with, or you don't sign a job in a place that is very expensive, such that you go to the US and life becomes difficult for you because you are being underpaid. So we help you to analyze the contracts, yeah, and help you to choose a state where you're going to settle your family, because some of you have young families. You need good states where you can bring up a family in the US. Yeah. And some of you, probably your children have left the nest, and you need a state where you will make the highest amount of money. You don't care about families. Yeah. Some of you are just single, you are going solo. You just need a state where you're going to make big monies. So we narrow down to an individual. We don't have like a general template on how we help people make decisions about moving to the US. All right. So once you have IELTS, you have a job, you start a process called immigration. The first step of that process is called I-140 petitioning. So your employer files for I-140 petition, and the process of immigration is going to be sponsored fully by your employer. So in this case, you're not coughing out money for the process, but you're only giving majorly the documents. A time when in about one and a half years, you'll be called for an interview by the embassy in your country. And at that time, you will need some little money to do medical examinations. And then your employer is going to pay for your air ticket via the EB3 visa, and you move to the USA. So the EB3 visa is a green card. It's called employment-based visa, and it allows you as a principal applicant to move to the US with your legally wedded spouse and children below the age of 21. And the process is done. You are in the US and you start working. Yeah. And once you work the period of the contract that you will have signed, then you can move on and do your own things if you want to, or actually sign another contract for another job. So in a nutshell, that is how the US process looks like. So for you to start this process of immigration, you must pass a difficult exam, a bit difficult exam, which is called NCLEX. In our company, our major service is actually preparing nurses for NCLEX. We have set a record of high pass rates, above 95%, consistently because of our seriousness in preparing nurses for the NCLEX exam. As we are not a hiring agency, we are not a sponsoring agency. We do not focus on hiring nurses. We do not focus on you signing contracts. We focus on preparing you to be ready for the US market. So we put a lot of emphasis on the NCLEX exam. We keep on following you in a friendly tone, assisting you with the challenges that you have in the process so that you can deliver the good news in the first round. And so I may not be the best person placed to talk more about that, but amongst us, we have a lady who has gone through our process and passed our NCLEX in the first attempt. And I have the pleasure to invite Lucy to take us through the tips for revising and preparing for the new generation NCLEX. The new generation NCLEX that started in April 2023. I know a few things about Lucy, but I will tell you that she was a very dedicated student in both IELTS and NCLEX, and a good number of our students have emulated that and emerged victorious. So welcome so much, Lucy, and kindly take the stage and let us talk to the nurses. Thank you so much.
Wow, thanks so much, Henry. Sorry, I was talking to Henry some few minutes ago. I'm so excited, so happy to see such a large number, and more so from various countries. I'm so excited. I feel like going back to the NCLEX class again. I would have the pleasure to do that. Anyway, in short, I want to welcome all of you to the Passcode family. I want to say that this is a family. You are in the right place. Don't even try to look anywhere else, but want to assure you that you are in the right hands. I'm an NCLEX passer and also IELTS passer. I passed so well that sometimes I wonder why people say NCLEX is difficult. But of course, it is difficult. And on the other hand, it is very simple. For me, NCLEX was just a cup of water. But it didn't come just like that. It was a long process, as Humphrey has explained. It is tedious. It requires a lot of dedication. Now, in short, I want to, as I've said that you're in the right hands, the Passcode family, this is a family that works with you from the beginning up to the end. Now, before even I give the tips, I want to say that also my journey was full of challenges, but the team in Passcode, they really supported me. They gave me all the necessary support that I needed, such that for me, I got my job. It was very easy for me to get my job, and I'm so happy and grateful also to Passcode. Now, Humphrey, maybe you could confirm afterwards. I've never heard of anybody who has enrolled with Passcode and has failed NCLEX. Those people who have always given us testimonies, those who went ahead of us, they always gave us successful stories, and that is where I also fetched my courage and my strength. So probably maybe you confirm to the team after that. I want to be sure that everyone who passes through your hands passes NCLEX with the first attempt. Now, for me, as I said that myself, I did the NCLEX and I passed with the first attempt. And these are some of the tips that I applied. The first thing, I had to set my goals. I told myself, Lucy, you are taking this NCLEX once. Never again are you going to take this NCLEX again. So by doing that, I put my all my time, all my energy. I didn't dedicate it to NCLEX studies. I want to say that myself, I was working and I'm also working in a very, very difficult in a hospital, or the hours of working are very, very tedious. I work for 14 hours in a day, 7 good days, 6 good days, I mean. So, and I didn't have so much time like the way nurses would have maybe their day offs at PHs. I didn't have that. But since I knew what I wanted, I really put all my efforts such that every minute, every second that myself I was free, I only dedicated to studying NCLEX. Now, I had to cut all my, not all, but almost all my friends, because I knew that if I mix friendship with NCLEX, I will not make it. And me and few hours out of work, I made sure that the moment I reach at home, the first thing was take the NCLEX notes, listen to Passcode recordings, take sodas, and read. From there, I would wake up early in the morning also before I go to job and do the readings, because NCLEX, it's difficult for those who don't really read. But if you really dedicate your time in reading, following the instructions from Passcode, you automatically pass that exam. Something else that I was going to say about giving it all is that kindly, when you take your, maybe I'll answer the questions after. Kindly, when you start your studies, ensure that, especially the you as young people, this generation, we are so much into social media. You could cut your hours of social media because you are sure that you pass the end, you'll go back to the social media. So it will be better for you, or for those who are doing the exam, to really dedicate all your time. Cut some of your friends, cut the parties, cut the socializations, so that you can dedicate all your life, all your time to it. Also, all your energy to it. Secondly, kindly study enough. I'm sure that Passcode has given you all the materials that are needed to pass the NCLEX. By the way, you don't need anything else. In case you need, probably maybe 10%, because I believe that Passcode always gives the recordings and the lecturers. I want you to comment here the lecturers of Passcode. They are really top notch. I don't think that if you listen to them very carefully, you can really pass that exam. By the way, you can't. So you have the materials from Passcode. I'm sure they have also given you some links. They have given you the main book of sodas. That sodas, familiarize yourself with it. Me, I was so happy when I was reading that sodas. I really enjoyed the process. And by the way, if you didn't want to make this process that is somehow tedious a bit easy, enjoy the process. Enjoy every moment. Once you take the sodas like this, just smile and feel that you are really doing your life. When you are listening to the lecturers, just be happy. By the way, be happy because you are going to pass the exam. So for me, I want to say that I much concentrated on the materials that Passcode gave us. They gave us the recordings and also the sodas. I made sure that I did attended the classes. If I was not able to attend the class, I would make sure that the following day I would wake up very early in the morning, listen to the audios, because if you are left behind, you will not be able to catch up. So that reminds me of something else, time management. Please, my friends, manage your time. Don't postpone. Oh, tomorrow I'll study this, tomorrow never comes. Just do it today. Manage your time properly, because I'm sure that most of us, we are in different working situations and we all know the time that we have. So kindly manage your time well. If you didn't manage your time well, if you didn't study well, you are going to pass that exam. Something else, kindly be confident. People come with so many stories here and there that NCLEX is hand, I don't know what. Yes, it is hand. I want to repeat for those who don't study and don't dedicate their all to NCLEX. But be confident. Go and say to yourself, I'm going to sit for this NCLEX once and for all. Once you are confident with yourself, even the studies, they really become easy. So something else, kindly use the Q banks that Passcode suggests. And for me, I found it was very good, or it was very important for me.
Say you are muted. We can't hear you well. Please unmute.
Somebody muted me, I think.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, no, okay. So I was saying that it is quite important, if you can afford or if it is possible, to use two types of Q banks, because they all have different styles. So maybe you can see how one sets the questions, and then you can compare it with the other one. Something very, very important before I finish this sharing. Kindly master the rationale in the NCLEX question. For me, I want to say that I found there were so many questions for me when I was doing the NCLEX about pharmacology. And everybody says pharmacology is hand, pharmacology is hand. So since I had the hand that pharmacology is hand, I said that if the questions of pharmacology will come to my test, I want to, well, my friend, and I want to do that NCLEX one after another, one after another. Some of those drugs, me, I've never seen them or heard them, but simply because I mastered the rationale and mastered the strategy of answering pharmacology questions. I am sure if I would be given that exam, I'm sure I passed all of them. In fact, they were quite a number, but simply I was prepared. But in short, prepare in all areas, prepare. Be confident that you will do. And one of the things for me, I was so happy is that after those 4 or 5, more or less 6 months of intense revision, intense reading, intense answering of questions, I'm telling you, I walked the exam room. I was feeling like as if I'm a Q bank myself. I was saying that whichever question they ask me, I was ready to answer because I was feeling that I was a walking Q bank because I had prepared myself very well. In fact, I was so confident. I was so happy that when I went to do that exam. In fact, I'm sure it closed at 8:05, and I didn't use even 1.5 hours there. By the time I realized and finished the exams simply because the computer shut. Otherwise, I was ready to go even for I don't know for how long. But I realized that I finished NCLEX because the computer shut. I don't think I went for more than 1.5 hours. So in short, I want to say that this NCLEX is very doable and very easy, by the way. But if you prepare yourself and you prepare yourself well. So as I close, I want to say that in case you have any problem or in case of anything, kindly consult the Passcode. They will help you in everything. If you are stuck, kindly call me. Don't overabandon yourself with so many materials, because if you go to the YouTube and all those things, there are so many people talking of NCLEX, but more or less they are talking of the same thing. So for me, I would say that focus on the lecturers that God has given you. Focus on the team in person, and you'll be able to guide you. Don't be overburdened with so many things, because also you don't want to have so many things and a lot of confusion. Just master the small things that you have, or the materials that Passcode has given you, and I'm sure you come out successfully. Otherwise, it is as simple as that. On the other hand, as complicated as that. If I'm asked, me, I would go back again and do it in 2 days or in 2 months revision, because it is such a beautiful exam. It's so sweet. Me, I was so happy. But of course, what I said earlier is that you need to dedicate all your time and all your energy to it all. So I want to wish those who are soon going to do the exam a very, very successful exam. Good tidings in your preparation. Eat well, sleep well, enjoy the process, be happy and be confident, and all shall be well. I think I've done, unless there's anything. Humphrey?
Yes, thank you so much, Lucy, for that explanation on how you passed through NCLEX. Guys, I'm now giving you a chance to ask questions specifically to Lucy. You can ask, for those of you who are already doing NCLEX, you can ask specific questions here on chat. You can just throw them on chat so that everyone else can be seeing them. As we wait for your questions, I will be expounding some points or from my experience, because for me, I deal with many students who have passed NCLEX on the new generation NCLEX. So I'll start by, I can see Emma answered all the questions that were asked, but I will start by expounding on the aspect of new generation NCLEX, because Maggie Murevi had asked, why do we call it the new generation NCLEX? Why do we call it the NGN? So we call it the new generation NCLEX because the version of NCLEX has been changed. Basically, NCLEX changes after every 3 years, but now entirely the version has been changed. Initially, it was majorly an MCQ question, MCQ question exam. Nowadays, apart from MCQ, it has various types of questions, including what they are calling case studies. You get a case study, maybe for someone with heart failure, they are going to give you 6 questions from each case study. So the current NCLEX that we have was instituted or started operation in 2023 April. So after 3 years, that is by 2026 April, it is going to change. They are going to add more question types. So when we talk about NCLEX changing, it's actually them adding more question types. They can change the minimum number of questions. They can change the maximum number of questions you're going to experience in the NCLEX. And with that, you're going to have a different version of an NCLEX. So that is why we call it the new generation NCLEX. So basically, all NCLEXs that will be done starting April 2023 will be following the format of the new generation NCLEX, which basically means that there will be varied types of questions. Yeah. So I will be giving you a number of summarizing tips from my experience, what I have seen students doing for them to pass the exam with the first attempt, or for those who come to us having failed and they want to repeat. Maybe they didn't have someone to guide them and they failed and they want to repeat, and we guide them and they pass. So which strategies do they apply? So I can see a question from Rose. Which strategy did you use in reading Saunders? So I will allow Lucy to answer that question because it is actually part of the discussion, a major part, because Saunders is a core text and a very important text. And I can see several people already in our program here, and I would really like them to benefit, because when they read Saunders well and build a base in content, then they are going to pass the exam very well. So Lucy, kindly welcome and discuss how the strategy used to study Saunders, as well if there is any other material that you felt helped you a lot as you studied for NCLEX, and as well how you maneuvered through studying content and questions, because that forms the basis of my discussion on how to prepare for the new generation NCLEX. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Humphrey, and also to Rose who asked that question. You find that Saunders, for me, it was the core material that I used. Now, for me, it was very, very important first to master the content. You see, like the Passcode, they have broken it down into modules. There's module 1, there's module 2, there's all those things, and there's always a topic. So let's take for example, pharmacology, I give that example, psychiatric medication. So understanding sodas, the content, what do they say about this medication? Master the content, and then check the Q bank. Which questions how do they ask the questions about psychiatry medication or any other type of medication? So what I was doing is that I would take the topic, study the topic, master it, and in fact, in Saunders, there are some questions that are down there, and also it gives rationale. I would study the content, do the questions without looking at the answers, then afterwards, look at the answers. If I've passed, I would ask myself, why have I passed this question? If I've failed, I would ask myself, why have I failed this question? Because you confront yourself so that when you pass, you know why you have passed. When you have failed, you know when you have failed. And in fact, not only to sodas, and also, or maybe also to other content. Myself, what I used so much, of course, it was sodas, that was the format video, plus the lectures and the audios from that one. And it's called what? Simple Nothing. For me, Simple Nothing was very, because you see, it is audio. Me, I'm so much a person of audio, such that when I was going to the exam, I was hearing that Mike just dancing and singing those songs there. It is good for those who really like audio, or who are visual, or probably those who are visual. And also I used RN, but in Nasara, but very little. Myself, I really concentrated on audios, sodas, and simple as just that. But all in all, I think what is important is just master the content. Once you master the content, then answer the Q bank. But you must break it down small. You cannot read the whole thing. Just break it topic, in fact, topics. Because I think, I'm not sure, but especially when it comes to case studies, you see, it is just one condition or various conditions that very many questions are asked out of just one question, probably maybe 6. I don't know, the maximum should be what. You see, if you have mastered a topic and the questions come around that topic, be sure you are able to tackle all of them, the 6 of them, even if there are more. But if you have just literal understanding of such a topic, you will not be able to even connect, because there is a lot of connections that is really needed when it comes to answering case studies and also both, I think. So for me, what was very important is mastering the content and then confronting myself with why. Why have I passed? Why have I failed? And also checking on the feedback.
Okay, thank you so much, Lucy. So I continue with my discussion on how to prepare for the new generation NCLEX, because really that is the title of today's discussion. I want to narrow it down into 2 major items or things, if you like. For those of you who have attended my classes, especially introductory classes, the orientation classes, because when you join our program, the 4-month NCLEX revision program, the first week is usually an orientation program. So for those who have attended my orientation program, you will recall that I usually say this. And for those of you who have attended a class we usually call last-minute preparations for NCLEX. Now, the secret for passing NCLEX is actually building on the content. Number 1, and number 2, building on the style. So you have 2 things. Number 1, you must have the content, and number 2, you must have the style. So actually, the reason why we have the NCLEX revision program, 4-month NCLEX revision program, is to help you to build on the content and to help you to build on the style. A majority of people, if you look at the statistics on the people who came to us to say, the people who came to us saying, I failed, so I want to redo. Can you help me? So a good number of those people, because we do take a lot of information from them for us to be able to help them well, either did not have anyone to help them with the process of revision, or they had an agency which does not invest in NCLEX revision, because most of the agencies will give you materials and tell you, prepare for NCLEX, we are going to schedule your exam. And when it comes to scheduling your exam, they just ask you, do you feel ready now? Can we schedule? And they go ahead and schedule. And some of those agencies might be agencies that are being managed by human resource experts. Probably they have not invested in employing NCLEX trainers who can take you through. So that's why I started by telling you I'm a nurse by profession. So you ask me a nursing question. If you ask me a clinical question, I'm going to answer you. Because I'm a researcher and a very passionate one for that matter. So the 4-month NCLEX program by Passcode helps you to answer the question, how do I build on the NCLEX content? When you're given a big book like Saunders, how do you read that book? So for those of you who have Saunders, you can see that he has about 1,000 pages thereabouts. How do you read that thing? It's so much. Now you read Saunders, you realize there's another book called Gold Standard for NCLEX, which is very good, very summarized. You also need to read that. You don't have time. You have a question bank, which is very detailed. Like for those of you who are using a question bank called NASA Chief, you're using a question bank called UWorld. Yeah, those question banks are very detailed. You go to YouTube, find another YouTube channel called Simple Nursing. A lot of information. There's another one which is called what is it called? What is it called? Am I forgetting? I'm forgetting the name. It's very nice. And there's another one called Campaign for, is it Campaign? No, not Campaign. NCLEX Crusade. There's NCLEX Crusade, and there's another one. If I forget the name as we proceed, I'm going to give you the name. So how do you maneuver through all this information? Lucy talked about information overload. So the program by Passcode helps you to narrow down which materials are you going to use? How are you going to use these materials? So sometimes we do a meeting with a client, that is an NCLEX candidate, and then we want to understand how they are doing in the process. So you find that someone has been reading Saunders, but they are not understanding. I mean, you are a nurse who is doing 8 to 5 shifts. Probably you are employed in a day workplace where you go in the morning, you leave in the evening at 5 p.m. Some of you are working in Nairobi, and you beat the traffic for about 2 hours. Get to your place of get to your home at 7 p.m. You are so tired, and the class is starting. You listen to the class. You have other chores. You are a family person. You are a wife, a husband. Your children are there, and then after the class is over, you have taken your supper as you do the class, and now you want to go to Saunders, saying you're telling yourself, let me just take like 3 pages, then I sleep. You'll not understand anything. So if you have that kind of a consistent culture of reading, you'll find that 1 month is done in the program and you have not gotten anything. So for such people, we usually start meetings with the individual meetings, online meetings, to start reviewing. If you use this method of studying, are you going to make it? You are not going to make it. So we need to change as early as possible. For sure, there are people who have time to read Saunders from cover to cover. When you come to Passcode, we don't tell you to read Saunders from cover to cover, because we have individualized programs that are going to work for you. We are not going to tell you, there are some people who are not employed on permanent basis. We are not going to tell you, stop working so that you can pass the exam. No. We work with a strategy that fits in your program. As well, we work with a strategy that fits your level of understanding. Now, when it comes to studying for NCLEX, it's very important to understand what type of a person you are when it comes to grasping the content when you study it. Are you a fast learner? Are you an average learner? Are you a slow learner? So a fast learner will pass through Saunders. They'll listen to a few, some videos from Simple Nursing. The other channel I was talking about is called Level Up RN. Level Up RN. They go listen to Level Up RN. They listen to registernursern.com. And they do the question bank and go to the exam and pass it because their retention rate is very high. Yeah. Then we have someone who probably left the school. The last time they had a book is like 20 years ago because they have been so busy practicing. Some of you are business people. You own your clinics. You have a business. You own your pharmacies, chemists. You have not gone to the books for a long time. And now NCLEX is here. How do you go about it? So we handle every case at an individual level. Yeah. So we prescribe an individualized program. You come to us, you want us to help you to do a timetable on how to study for the NCLEX. We start with the question on how is your availability? How available are you? Because that listening here is very important for someone who is preparing for NCLEX. So as Lucy said, NCLEX is not hard. NCLEX needs you to master the content. Please underline the word master. You must master the content. You must understand what the NCLEX wants to test. So if we are talking about medications, for example, we are talking about a drug called digoxin. The questions are, what does NCLEX test on digoxin? How does NCLEX test digoxin? Which concepts in digoxin or regarding digoxin are tested in the NCLEX and how are they tested? So our program focuses on teaching you specifically what NCLEX wants to test in every subject topic in the NCLEX. And this program is designed in such a way that for those 4 months, it covers the entire curriculum of the NCLEX. That means it is covering what you studied in your country, if you have done a BSN, KRCHN, or whatever, plus additions that are in the American nursing curriculum, but are not in your nursing curriculum. All right? So you can imagine what you studied in school for 4 or 5 years, for those who are doing bachelor's, and those who started with certificate, then you upgraded to a diploma. And for those who have done diploma only, for 3.5 years, what you studied for those 3.5 years and you have been practicing, you are being subjected to it for 4 months, and then you take an exam. So if you don't have a well-designed program, a program that factors that you are a working person, a program that considers that this is a new concept for you, the new way of testing NCLEX. The NCLEX questions are not just like the NCK questions. Yeah, your home nursing council questions. They are a bit, the conceptual framework is a bit different. So we take you through that. So we teach you what the NCLEX tests, how it tests. So therefore, how are you going to study for those questions? And what exactly are you going to study? And which materials are you going to use? Because we also get people who are coming from agents. You have already been given a question bank by an agency. You have been given other materials by an agency. So we sit down, look at all those materials to be able to help you. Which materials are you going to focus on? And which materials are you going to keep away? So that by the end of your prescribed period, you'll be able to sit for your NCLEX exam and actually pass it.
Uko mbali kidogo lakini
Hey, kindly Margaret, mute yourself. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So, in summary, you must master the content. Please underline the word must. And two, you must know how to answer questions. Now, when it comes to answering NCLEX questions, you'll find that in our program, we prescribe a question bank. Even though we give you so many questions, so many NCLEX-like questions, we still insist that you must have a question bank, and we follow you with a question bank, looking at your performance, prescribing how you're supposed to change your revision strategies for you to benefit from the question bank. Because the question bank is supposed to give you the style, but the materials are going to give you the content. Now, for some people, the question bank gives them both the style and the content, yeah, depending on their grasping capabilities. So I do appreciate how we do our assessments to understand how is someone grasping this content, how is someone doing in their revision process, and how are we going to help this person perform better in their revision. And in about a week or so of prescribing a change to someone, we usually realize a big change in the way they are doing their revision, and it works perfect. It works perfect. All right. If you use a question bank alone and you're not doing the content, you're not going to pass NCLEX. I know there are some people who will tell you that I used just buy this particular question bank, use it, and you're going to pass your exam. It will not happen. You will be posting 75%, 80% in that question bank, but when you go to the NCLEX, you're not going to pass it. Guys, I want to tell you that question banks are not past NCLEX questions. They are not past papers for NCLEX. The NCSBN, National Council of State Boards of Nursing, the body that owns copyrights to NCLEX, has actually outlined on their website how you can formulate NCLEX questions. They usually teach the people who do those question banks how to create NCLEX questions. So they create what we call NCLEX-like questions. Please take note of that. NCLEX, they do not create NCLEX questions. They create NCLEX-like questions. Questions that look like the NCLEX. Yeah? Questions that look like the NCLEX. So if you concentrate on question banks and cram them, you're not going to pass your exam. So we want you to master the content. We want you to have the real thing. When you join our program and study for 4 months, you are actually a qualified USRN, US registered nurse. You are only going to the exam to confirm, and then you'll be given a certificate. It's called an NCLEX certificate or US license certificate, pass certificate. Now, because you also risk passing NCLEX. If you go to US, you don't know how to practice. You don't know many things. You just crammed and they evaporated. You risk your license because you are dealing with clients who are very enlightened about their processes. And if you do what is called malpractice, they're going to sue you. If you do what is called negligence, they are going to sue you. And the consequences of being sued is that you can lose your license. The board might cancel your license. Yeah. So when you come to our program, we do not only focus on you passing the NCLEX exam, we also want to prepare you very well, because we want we also want success rates for our nurses who go to the US. You go do your first contract, you are done with it, you are calling us, giving us news that I'm now done with my first contract. It was a contract of 2 years, 3 years, but I was able to finish it in 1.5 years because of this and that. Yeah. Now I am doing travel nursing. Yeah. That will be very good news. But if it will be news of you having very difficult moments in a US ward, we will also not be happy, because the practice context of the US is very different from the practice context that we have in most of the third world countries. All right. So bottom line, building on the content, and then we have style. For the style, our tutors are excellent in teaching you how to answer NCLEX questions. And then when it comes to the content, we have very well summarized notes. Notes on PowerPoint slides with very well summarized notes for each topic in the NCLEX. And when you are in our program, apart from attending the live classes where you interact with the tutors, you have those recordings available for you for 6 months from the time you joined the program. Available to you for 6 months. You can go through those recordings. So if you are going through passcode recordings, you will note that our tutors really emphasize the points that are examinable in every topic in the NCLEX, and that is going to help you a lot to pass your exam. Okay. Thank you so much, Emma. I can see you have shared our contacts. And you are also answering questions. Yeah. So just to recap some of the questions that were asked. Someone was asking whether it's they can start with NCLEX revision and actually do registrations later. Yes, you can start with NCLEX revision. You can pay the $300 or 30,000 Kenya shillings, and then start the NCLEX classes. Our next class is starting on November 11th. Our last class for this year is starting on November 11th. These are people who are going to test in March and April next year. And that is very much okay. I can see we have Mbuyu from Zambia. Welcome to this platform. We also have Tracy from Zambia. Welcome to this platform. And I can also see we have Chiti from Zambia. And I want to answer a question that has been asked. Can someone from Zambia join these classes? And how are the payments made? So I want to tell you, Tracy, we are not talking about can someone from Zambia join. People from Zambia are already in our program. Some of them have already tested. In fact, our last webinar, we had someone from Zambia who went through our program and passed NCLEX. If you go to our YouTube channel, you're going to hear Alan from Zambia talking to the nurses. And actually, they sat exam the same day with our friend. They joined as 2 people, and others are in the program. In fact, we also have this November, we have scheduled a number of candidates from Zambia in the Nairobi Center, and they told us they want to travel together. They will be traveling to test together to Nairobi. Yeah. And when they are coming to Nairobi, we help them to organize all the logistics, accommodation, travel, and there are very many ways of making payments, Trazi, so that should not be a challenge. Halima is asking, do you have a physical class? Yes, we do have a physical class for IELTS and the English program, but we don't have a physical class for NCLEX. We prefer that even for the people in Nairobi, we prefer you study NCLEX online, because when you are studying for NCLEX, it requires a lot of your time. So if we confine NCLEX revision to class time, then we will be lying to you. Again, you find that our class is for 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. with recordings. So the recordings are available to you every day after the class. Now, some of you work in shifts. So you might find that at 7 p.m. on a Friday when we have a class, you are doing a shift. So you are going to rely on the recordings. You are going to rely on the recordings. But once in a while, you try the best and attend a live class. Lydia, we do not advocate for half payments. We require that you make full payment and take the program. Do you allow one to start with registration? Yes, we do allow you to start with registrations, then you take NCLEX, the next NCLEX class. For more information about that, kindly take our number, which is +254 726 311 477, the number that deals with NCLEX, and you can ask specific questions. Yes, because we may not be able to answer all the specific questions that apply to you on the chat. On the chat, just ask general questions. Yeah, very important question about the visa freeze. The visa freeze to USA. Those that did the NCLEX but didn't because of the visa. Now, I would like to address the question of visa freeze. It is actually not a visa freeze, Lorna. It is called retrogression. It is not a visa freeze per se. I know there are many people who will tell you, I did NCLEX 3 years ago, I have not gone to the US. Some people will tell you that, even if they have just stayed for 2 years. Because it is human nature to exaggerate sometimes something that is not the best. Let me start by saying that as a person who did NCLEX in as I told you, 2020, having had my NCLEX certificate for about 4 years now, I've interacted with so many people who have done NCLEX, and majority of them who completed their wait times. Some of them have already completed their first contract in the US, especially those who are able to compress their contract, where the overtime hours counted to the contract. I have had people, a number of them, discouraging nurses who want to start the process by talking about the retrogression. So what is retrogression? First of all, I want to say that retrogression is a normal happening in the EB3 visa. In fact, it is not the going of nurses to the US that is on retrogression. It is specifically the EB3 visa that is on retrogression. And it is actually not retrogressed right now. It has started moving. So what happens here is that every year, the US issues a specific number of EB3 visas for the entire world. To be specific, the numbers are around 140,000. 140,000 visas are issued every year. So the US financial year starts in October. Is it October or September? I don't remember the exact month, but I think October or September. So what happens is that if the visas for a particular year are exhausted, then you have to wait for the next financial year. Now, for the visas to be exhausted, it depends with the demand and how fast the embassy will be giving those visas. As I can see that majority of you here are Kenyans. The Nairobi embassy is one of the most active embassies for the US. So once the visas for a particular financial year are awarded, the Nairobi embassy calls everyone who qualifies for the visa, for visa interviews, and issues the visas. And the visas for that year get depleted. So they have to wait for the next financial year. So I am giving a scenario where if the US embassy in Nairobi is usually slow in calling people for interviews, it would be issuing visas throughout the entire financial year. And no one would be talking about retrogression. Like this year, in around January, February, March, April, so many people were called for interviews. I expect also that by January, February, from December, so many people are going to be called for interviews. And when they call so many people at a go, by April 2025, they will have exhausted the visas allocated for financial year 2024, 2025. So the embassy is going to freeze the visas until the next financial year when a new lot has been allocated. So the visa retrogression for the EB3 visa is happening for all the years. It is not something that should discourage you from starting the US journey. So because of the limited number of visas, the EB3 visa is a visa that is in very high demand. Why is it in very high demand? Number one, it's because it is a green card visa, which means that when you get this visa, you become a permanent resident of the US. So which means that even if you are fired from your job, you don't lose your visa. Yeah? If you go and breach your contract, you don't lose your visa. You continue being a US resident. Secondly, this visa allows you to go with your family, legally wedded spouse, and children below the age of 21, which means that if you carry your spouse to the US, they have the right to work. They go and apply for a job and start working. Yeah? And you will be having the privileges closer to a US citizen. You can apply for citizenship after 5 years of living in the US and you become a citizen. Yeah. So that is why that visa has a lot of demand. Now, the good thing about the administration of that visa is that it is on the basis of first come, first served. So when you do NCLEX and you finish NCLEX and IELTS, you're going to start immigration. There's a document we are going to apply for you. It's called Visa Screen Certificate. So once you have your Visa Screen Certificate, your employer is going to file for a petition called I-140 petition. So when your I-140 petition is filed, you'll get at a stage called PD, priority date. The date when your I-140 petition was filed is called a priority date. So the embassy will be calling you for an interview depending on when you got your priority date. So if a nurse gets a priority date of today, 20th October 2024, and another one got a priority date of 20th November 2024, the person whose case was filed in 20th October is going to be called for an interview before the person who got their PD in November. So like right now, there are many people who are doing NCLEX. What does that mean to you? The number of visas that is usually issued per year has not increased for the last many years. If that number does not increase, it means that the wait times might become a bit longer. But does it mean that people will stop going to the US? No, people will still be going to the US. Because today, 2024, someone who started NCLEX, did NCLEX in 2021, 2022, that person is getting visa interviews and going to the US. So today, 2024, if you start NCLEX, we are looking at 2026, 2027, you'll be going to the US. What about the person who did not start because they were told about the visa retrogression? So you should be asking yourself, you have to do a self-evaluation. You should be asking yourself, even if you don't start this process and you continue earning what you are earning, if by luck you are employed, what will you have done in the next 2 years? Because if you do the process, in the next 2 years, you'll be able to move to the US and get a job. What kind of a job are we talking about in the US? We are talking about a job where if your spouse is not working in the US and you have a family of 2 kids, for example, I'm just giving an example, you will be able to take good care of them and give them a super life. Very good schools, very good opportunities, even for your children when it comes to them when they finish schooling. Yeah. We are talking about, for those of you who are diploma holders and you would like to upgrade to a degree, we are talking about a place where you go to school online to earn a degree for 1 year while you work. You don't need to be going to school physically to earn your degree. We are talking about a place where if your zeal is to become a critical care nurse, you don't necessarily need to go to school to study critical care. You need to get a job in a critical care unit. And then you work for about 2 years there. They are going to give you a certificate of experience as a critical care nurse. And you can use that certificate to get a job as a specialized critical care nurse. And we are talking about a place where if you have your degree, you do your master's, you become an advanced practice registered nurse. You become a healthcare practitioner where you can prescribe drugs, you can do this, you can do that, and you practice independently. Yeah. We are talking at a place where you can do a few weeks course, for example, on IV infusion, and start independent contracting as an IV infusion nurse, visiting nursing homes, inserting IV cannulas and hanging drips, and you make your big dollars. So we are talking at a place that is very different from the situation that you have in your country, in as much as nurses are concerned. And we are talking about a country that needs nurses in hundreds of thousands, such that the few that have gone and the few that are in the process right now are just a drop in the ocean. So when you talk about the US, we are talking about a country of a market of more than 360 million people. And these people need hospitals, need to be treated, and so they need nurses. All right. Any question that has not been answered? So let me give my colleague Emma to just comment on the questions she has been answering and any that has not been answered. Welcome, Emma.
Thanks again, Humphrey. So, referring to the very first question I answered was how long CGFNS verification takes. So it takes approximately between 1 and 2 months. And some of the others you've actually answered, whether you can take NCLEX classes before the registration process. Yes, you can choose to start with either, or you can also choose to do them simultaneously. The other one was about the new generation NCLEX. Humphrey did talk about it. And then yeah, the payment module, the question was also answered by Humphrey. Yes, also you can pay in installments. We can always make an arrangement for that if you're looking to start either programs or rather the whole program. So ideally, those are most of the questions that I have received. And I think the last one was whether Nairobi is the only testing center one can go to. No, really, we have another testing center in India and South Africa. So Nairobi is just one of them. If your country doesn't have one, definitely you just move to the one that is close to you, to your country. Yeah, I think that is all from my end.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Emma. Someone has asked whether newly graduated nurses can start the process. I want to tell you that if you are a new nurse, as I said, the requirements for starting the USRN process, you only need to have your license. Even if it's a 1-day-old license, you qualify to start the process. Let no one talk to you about 2 years experience, 5 years experience. No, those are conditions that has been set by agents. So an agent sets their own rules. How many agents do we have recruiting nurses? Hundreds of them, so many of them. Yeah. So the major thing here, when you want to move to the US, is to pass NCLEX. Can you process NCLEX when you don't have experience? Yes. All right. So at this point, I would like to, before we end, I would like to hear your reactions, and I'll be giving a chance to someone from the audience, a nurse from the audience who would like to say something. You can raise your hand on chat. There's a place for raising your hand on chat. Yeah. And then I'll give you a chance to say hi to the others or to ask any question you may be having, or just to encourage nurses and also maybe to give a reaction about the webinar. Yeah. So anyone willing to do that, either from wherever place, wherever country, you will be given a chance. So I'll be checking whether someone has raised their hand as I answer the questions that have been asked again on. Actually, I can see my colleague has answered the question. No, the question on how long does it take to go to USA after passing NCLEX? It depends with which visa you are going to the USA with. I know I talked about the EB3 visa, but it's also another visa called H1B. So if you're going with H1B visa, it will take you some months to 1 year to move to the USA. But if you're using EB3 visa currently, with the current situation, it's going to take you about 1.5 years to move to the USA after passing the NCLEX. And to add something to the question on the CGFNS, the CGFNS is going to take you about 1 to 2 months to process a report after receiving the documents from your School of Nursing. So please, if you know your School of Nursing takes ages to process a document, start early enough. Yeah. So Elias Egesa, I'm going to give you this chance. You can unmute and take over. Thank you.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask a question. First of all, I must say I appreciate a lot what you are doing, but I'm not a nurse, though I've been in your office at least once. But there's a question I wanted to ask. I'm listening this courtesy of my daughter, whom I want her to start the process. For a nurse who has just finished school and the graduation is in December this year, though she has a license and a registration certificate from Nursing Council, do we have to wait for the graduation so that she gets the certificate, or one can start the process?
Okay. Yeah, are you done, Elias?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Elias. I am so humbled by your dedication for your daughter who is a nurse. Yeah, so your daughter already has a license. Unfortunately, your daughter doesn't have a certificate, which will be needed for NCLEX registrations. There are some schools that will require the NCLEX completion certificate for them to verify the documents for her. Some other schools will not need the NCLEX, the school nursing certificate, as long as you have your transcripts. However, since you're talking about a graduation in December, which is 1 month away, your daughter can comfortably start the November 11th class, start studying for NCLEX. And once she graduates in December, we are going to start NCLEX. Actually, a few weeks to our graduation, we are going to start NCLEX registrations with CGFNS and start doing NCK verifications. Once the document from the school comes in December, we complete the CGFNS verification. That means your daughter can get their CS report by January, towards the end of January 2025. And since the people who are starting the class of November 11th are going to test in March, April, it means that your daughter can comfortably beat the deadlines and actually be able to test in March or April of 2025. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to appreciate you so much for attending this meeting and being with us. We usually see that Passcode cannot be without you, and therefore we like calling you Passcoders. I want to appreciate you a lot for coming to our webinar. We will be announcing other webinars soon and very soon. Actually, we are moving these webinars from talking about NCLEX preparation to now talking about job search, how to do your contract in the US, life in the US, because we have many alumni who are going through that. So allow me, before I end the meeting, to allow Boyu Moyamo from Zambia to say something, because I can see their hand is up. So Boyu, you can take a minute.
Thank you so much, Chair. Indeed, I'm so grateful for whatever has been shared here. It has been very, very helpful information for me to take a step forward. So, but then I wanted to clarify on the issues of transcripts from my former nursing school, because I obtained a transcript, should be a year ago. So I wanted to find out if the same transcript is still valid when I start applying for this same process that I want to embark on. Yes, thank you and out.
Okay, thank you so much, Boyu. So for your question, you can, I think I already have your number. So we can have a call tomorrow or Tuesday to discuss at length, because some cases are usually very individualized. And as I said in our discussion, we like individualizing every case so that we can be able to get the best out of that particular case. We have seen that when we are dealing with different countries, that there are issues that emerge which are specific to those countries or are specific to those schools. So we would like to handle that issue as an individual case so that we can ensure that you succeed. Because again, if we send transcripts that have errors or that do not meet the requirements, probably because they have not been prepared well from the point of preparation, that is the School of Nursing, then there will be a possibility that the transcripts will not see you through when it comes to the Board of Nursing. And that is not what we want. All right. So because of time, guys, I want to appreciate you so much. And I will now be ending the meeting unless there is any urgent matter, which I believe there isn't. So you can unmute and say good night to your colleagues. Then we are going to end in the next 1 or so minutes. So just unmute and say good night to your
Good night.
friends.
Good night to all.
Good night, colleagues. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.